Hello, everyone. Let's take a look at the vernal equinox, which is going to be on the 20th of March. And this is always the real solar new year. And if you consider January the 1st, nothing really starts, nothing really commences in nature. Now, if you look around and you can see the green leaves and the little flowers and how the birds are singing already at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I love them. Uh, you realize that yes, the sun is shining longer. You have the lights are longer. The sun has its power already. Yesterday it was quite warm here in London. Finally, everyone was complaining about the rain. We in Hungary, whenever there's a summer without one drop of rain, I always envy you. But I understand that, of course, you like sunshine much better than rain. Anyhow, let's take a look at the. Um, I made you a PowerPoint. And this is going to be a little bit different from what we did for January 1st, simply because now we are going to look at the vernal equinox chart, which so the sun moves into Aries on March 20th at 3:06 a.m., so in the small hours. And we have a Capricorn rising, and according to mundane interpretation, when the ascendant is cardinal, then it is the whole chart is valid for 3 months. Yes, because those ingresses into cardinal signs always signify important moments, and you can actually take a look and see how the main energy patterns are working for certain periods of time. If you, for instance, in Hungary, when I did the Hungarian version, of course, and there we had an Aquarius rising there. It means that if you have a fixed sign rising, it's going to be there for a full year. So in your case, for Londoners or English people, this is valid for half a year, for three months. And if we had a mutable ascendant, it would be valid for 6 months, half a year. So what are the main uh, features? Here are the main features. And On the ascendant, Ceres is rising, which means that the focal point will be your home, your family, and your nurturing principle. The sun is conjunct Neptune, it's wide and separating. Of course, we know that the real conjunction will be when Neptune is moving into Aries, and it will be only happening in 1.5 years' time. So it's not yet there, but still, Neptune is already at the last 3 degrees of Pisces. And one of the astrologers, I can't remember who, anyhow, he said that the fact that we are nearing maybe it was Theodore White, hopefully I don't mix him up with someone, but I think I read something about the fact that those last 3 degrees of Pisces are always about death in many ways. And for instance, euthanasia and abortion are two main thoughts and topics that are now everywhere. And he was right. It was a he, I'm sure, but I can't remember who. I read everything, so the problem is that I never remember too well. Anyhow, so this is the associate and separating conjunction, and of course, there's a Leo moon in the seventh house, and the moon is very, very alone. We are going to look at it in a minute. There's also a blocking conjunction between Venus and Saturn. Saturn is blocking Venus in the second house. There's the triple conjunction involving the North Node, Mercury, and Chiron. Mercury is communication, Chiron is wounds, karmic wounds, and the North Node is our destiny choice for this particular moment in time. And in Aries, we need to learn to fight. This is something deeply important. And let's hope we will be able to do it. On the IC, you have Jupiter and Uranus, kind of not in the midpoint. The IC is not in the midpoint, but still both are there. So Do you have actually growth and also sudden events in the home? Uh, this is not yet the war energy, but you will have war rhetorics with Aries in the third house for sure. And there's a very tight dark moon Lilith Astrea conjunction. The dark moon is the acceptance of the curse. So when you do whatever you damn bad please, and you don't care who's going to curse you. And of course, Astrea is the karma breaker, the destiny changer. And Pallas Athena and Lilith are still going together. Pallas Athena, the wise girl, and Lilith is revolt against injustice. The midheaven is in the Scorpio, and there is a finger of fate between the midheaven and Black Moon Lilith, which is knowledge and courage together at the apex of it is the triple conjunction. And you have a beautiful mystic rectangle as well. So those are the highlights. Those are the main highlights. What is problematic maybe is um, the blocking conjunction between Saturn and Venus, because this Venus is very strong in the second house in Pisces. It's elevated and in a good position, but Saturn is going to block it. So no, we won't have too much money this year, at least for the first 3 months. And at the same time, both Pluto and Mars are in the first house, but they are intercepted. And so is the moon. The moon is very, very, very much alone and intercepted. No one is going to look at the people. No one will care. The powers that be won't care what we, the people, want and how we, the people, feel. But at least the war rhetoric will be up there, machinations and ideological fighting, but it's put in brackets. So hopefully England is not going to enter this war, which some of the Europeans really are itching to do. Like, I can't even understand. I mean, what do they think? What does Poland think? That really he will be able to fight against Russians? I don't really understand the whole idea. Anyhow, this is the hemisphere emphasis of the chart. There are 10 planets underneath the horizon, so we will be able to see quite a lot. And 2 on the above the horizon, and 9 on our side. So we will be able to pull the reins and do whatever we really want to. And what's important is that 4 of the personal planets are in one quarter of the chart in this one, which is always the best because we can look at it, we can understand it, and at the same time we can also act upon it. But the moon is up there and in opposite sides, at least in the London chart. And as for the modalities and elements, there is an emphasis on cardinals, although there's a lot of fixed as well. But the sun, the ascendant, and the south node are all in cardinals. And you don't really have too many mutables at the moment. And if we look at the elements, we can see that fire is the leading element, and water and earth are the same. It's kind of a nice mix because you have the sun and the moon in fire, you have the south node in air, and you have earth. You have an earth ascendant, so it's kind of balanced, I would say. And the chart ruler is in water, so all the elements are kind of there, which is nice. Let's take a look at the moon, which is there's a first quarter moon, uh, and I mean the phase, because of course it would be exactly first quarter if the sun were at 0 degrees Cancer or 1 degree Cancer, but it's in Leo. But this is still a first quarter phase. It's on the third day of first quarter, second or third day of the first quarter energy. And if you take a look at this moon, this is very, very much alone. This moon is very much alone. And if this occurred in the Babylonian visual astrology, then the moon could not actually uh, do anything about anything up in the sky. There were nobody, not no gods that he could actually act upon or tell him what to do. And in this case, of course, It's us, the people, who are totally alone. According to Babylonian visual astrology, the moon set off from Jupiter a couple of days earlier. And since only the visible planets count, it will take another 10 days before it reaches Mars. So it's completely alone, and it doesn't really have any power over the other gods. So that's what it means. And in the seventh house, which is the house of open enemies, we are not very happy about this. There are some transcendental objects of the luminaries that may be interesting. The moon has Diana, the uh, goddess of woods and animals. So it's a double moon energy. Ceres is one of the centaurs who is trying to overcome its birth defect, that it's a centaur, half human, half animal um, thing. And in order to do that, he cultivates the arts. So it's like elevation through the arts, through beauty. He's one of the most handsome centaurs anyway. And Altarf is the beta star, I think, the beta or the gamma star of Cancer, and it means the stair. It means actually, in Arabic that you have to look into something. It's one of the stars that are prominent when you want to do some sort of magic. So it's a magic linked star. And on the sun, you have Babel. Yes, when you look around, you see all these people who don't understand each other. Everyone is in one corner and never talking out of the corner. Everyone is staying in their own bubble and not making conversations. And actually, we are being cancelled. Anyone who does not have the same rhetoric as the mainstream is immediately cancelled, immediately labeled. Horrible labels are thrown at us. And instead of having normal conversation, which used to be one of the main features of liberalism, now you have these bubbles and nobody's talking out of the bubble. This is horrible. That's Babel, actually. We should actually speak on many languages. Borasis is another centaur that is linked to actually, it is linked to the monarch, but the negative monarch. So someone who is the tyrant, actually, and it's how you utilize your ruling potentials, your ruling energies. That's what we see outside. And then Shat, which is the alpha star of no, the beta star of Pegasus, and it's one of the healing words for suicide victims. But actually, the sun will always be there for another 150 years for sure, because fixed stars move only 1 degree every 72 years. And Shat is at 29 degrees, 40 something in Pisces. So it will take it another 40 years or so, 30 years for sure, until it moves into Aries. And then after that, there's another, if we allow a 1 degree of either sides, it will not be another 100 years before it moves away from it. So Shat is prominent no matter what. And there is a stellium both in Pisces and in Aries. In Pisces, you have the blocking conjunction with Venus and Saturn and Neptune. So again, a stellium means that you have at least 3 planets in one sign. And so the fact that you also have the North Node in Aries doesn't really matter, and so neither does Aries, because it's not a planet, but the Sun, Chiron, and Mercury are. Chiron is also considered to be. It's interesting. One of the astrologers calls Chiron an asteroid, and no, it's not an asteroid. Actually, it's a centaur. And so there is a difference between an asteroid, which asteroids orbit between Mars and Jupiter and describe the personal karmic layer. And Chiron is a proper ruler. It's a ruler, modern ruler of Virgo. So we should not look down on Chiron. And I think that's why I consider this a stellium as well. Okay. And I think I did that already. Sorry. Okay, let's take a look at what is in here. There's a mutable square, but also a mystic rectangle that is kind of dissolving this mutable square, involving Juno opposite Venus and Saturn. And this is something that I talked about in the Ides of March video a couple of days ago, that this Juno is retrograde and it's blocked by Saturn as well. So you don't really see new versions of uh, trying to find people who are of the same side or the same ideas. So you don't really see new contracts or new ideas emerging because Saturn is blocking it. And at the same time, this mutable T square has Pulse Athena and Lilith at its apex. So actually, you have wisdom and also courage together. And as for the mystic rectangle, you have Ceres, ascendant, descendant, Saturn, Venus, and Juno. So it's actually dissolved. The tension of the T square is dissolved. Let's take a look at the transcendental objects. I spoke about Elliot and Antares a couple of days ago. Antares is really important because Antares is the alpha star of Scorpio, so it's the heart of the celestial Scorpion, and it is both on the ecliptic and also on the Milky Way. It's one of the pillars of the Milky Way and also one of the Persian royal star. So it's a very important star, and actually, according to esoteric lore, this is where all the morphogenetic codes are being kept of the universe. So it's a very important space. And also you have Erato, which is the muse of erotic poetry. On the ascendant and Ceres, you have Nunkia and Astella, two fixed stars. Both are in Sagittarius and both are in the middle. Actually, Astella is the navel of the celestial archer, and Nunki is the place where the arrow is being balanced before shooting it out. On Venus, you have Pompeia, Amenhotep, and Valhalla. Amenhotep is a pharaoh. Valhalla is the this well, the place where the gods are getting together. So it's a gathering place for gods. And Pompeii, of course, is complete destruction through a volcanic energy. So it's like destruction through fire. And on Saturn, you have Cupido, which is kind of nice. I liked the fact that we had that. There's also a finger of fate, as I showed you before, between midheaven, Black Moon Lilith, and the Mercury Chiron. And actually, I didn't put there the node, the North Node, because it's a little bit further down, but the nodes are also there. The nodes are kind of there. It would have been a boomerang if the nodes were closer to these degrees, but they're not. So that's why I left them out. So a finger of fate has its apex as the prominent point always, because that is where the two quincunxes are adding up their energies. And this is the Chiron Mercury conjunction. So Mercury is communication and Chiron is karmic wounds. In Aries, it's around karmic wounds around fighting, wars, misunderstanding, violence, destruction, or fire, all kinds of things. Mercury is communication, so there are communication wounds, harsh communication wounds. And you have Amor, a love energy, and Aten, the sun disk there as transcendental energy. On the Black Moon Lilith, you have Thalia, the muse for theater. And on the midheaven, you have three transcendental objects. Maba Vareza is a Zulu energy, a Zulu goddess who is like a creator goddess who is responsible for nature and the beauties of nature. But at the same time, you have Hiroshima there, and that's complete destruction through nuclear weapons. So I'm a little bit afraid what will happen. I just hope that in the next 3 months, Russia will not attack anything with a tactical nuclear weapon, but it's there. And hubris is important because it's the revolt against the God, against the wishes of God, against anything that is divine. So the three are kind of balancing each other, but I wasn't happy to see Hiroshima right there. And you may remember that when I did the video on January 1st, but you can also go back and re-watch it. Uh, I mentioned that there were a lot of energetic energies in the chart, and this was some sort of uh, the energy is being stalled. We are being stalled. We are being hindered. Nothing is moving. Nothing is moving forward. We are just stuck in a rut, and we don't have actually the energy or the knowledge or just the stamina to move forward. That was the one of the main ideas of the year, and we see that again. And we are going to go back and forth for this table, but you can see that this is from serenu.com, that chaos is at 0 degrees Cancer, Isis is at 0 degrees Capricorn. So we have an Isis chaos opposition and a number of celestial objects, mainly TNOs and SDOs, a couple of asteroids that are at the last degrees of the signs, and Seto, which denotes toxic emotions, it's retrograde. So it was barely in the other side. It was barely in Sagittarius and moved backward. Now it's moving backwards. Why is it important? Because we do have a T-square involving the Sun in Aries, Chaos in Cancer, opposite Isis in Capricorn. This is a cardinal T-square, and one of the main energies of the year from karmic astrological viewpoint. And you might remember that I kind of said at the beginning of the year and even last year that this is a major feature, that on the vernal equinox, the sun is squaring chaos. Chaos actually is a TNO with an orbital period of 307 years. So any time it moves into a cardinal point is always very relevant. And chaos, of course, means chaos. And if you look around, that's what you see. Programmed chaos in the world. Nothing is what it used to be. The powers that be are trying to disrupt everything that they have been building up for the last 60 years. So that's amazing to me how in just a mere 2-3 years they are destructing. It's like a complete destruction. This is programmed chaos that I keep talking about. And this T-square has on the opposite side Isis. And who was Isis? The wife of Osiris, who was torn apart by Seth. And when this occurs, then Isis is uh, going around and trying to find these pieces that were thrown away at various points of the world. And she's gathering the different pieces of Osiris. She can't find the penis, but she's creating one. She's putting Osiris back together and creates a penis for him. And this is how Horus, the first pharaoh, is conceived. So Isis actually is a concept where torn to pieces things are going to put together again. So it's right the opposite of either Sedna or Albion, because Sedna is creation through um, uh, destruction and dissection. Albion is cutting himself into four to create the four aspects of humankind, but Isis puts together what has been torn apart. So it's actually quite funny how these are at 0 degrees of cardinal points. And there are a number of others, as I said, but usually at 29 degrees. So here you have a number of configurations, but they are aneretic and as a result, dissociate. So for instance, this beautiful grand trine that you can see here is aneretic and dissociate because Toro is at 0 degrees, no, so 29 degrees Cancer, and Sato is at 29 degrees Scorpio. So you do have the trine, which is a water trine, but you don't have it with the sun because it's at 0 degrees Aries. So again, you have a square energy with Toro instead of the trine, and you have a quincunx energy with Sato instead of the trine. So you can actually go and take a look what these are. Just very, very quickly, Terpsichore is the muse of dancing. chaos. Taurus is a very dark energy, a fighting energy, something that is like a big, horrible fight. Sato is uh, toxic emotions. Isis, we talk about it. Around is the underworld god for the Vash, and so it's like a Plutino, so it's an underworld energy and under hellish energy. And Iris is the rainbow, so it's actually divine channeling or divine intervention. Those are the ones that form this dissociate and energetic a complex planetary picture. And again, this is where you can see where these are, so you can check out what is energetically okay and what is not okay. And this is the most interesting thing in a natal chart when you have very tight uh, configurations, but they don't work the way they are supposed to work because they work according to the energy and not according to the aspect. So what are my key phrases for this year? It's the same that I mentioned before, that there's a sense of being stalled and stuck, even unable to move forward. Many things are happening at the same time. Chaos will continue. This is program chaos. And again, there will be social unrest, of course. And even civil wars may erupt. I mean, think about the American election. Either side wins, the other side is going to do something, believe me. So there's again another year of confusion and mix-up. Hopefully, this chart only is valid for 3 months for England, for you guys in England, but elsewhere you have a different chart, so you need to check. Again, there's a lack of clarity and a clear vision because Neptune is confusing everything. And it is still possible to learn new skills and tactics. It's still in the picture, and this is your saving grace, by the way. And it will be very difficult to have a clear focus and also clear thinking. And we will probably perfectly know what we don't want. We don't want chaos. We don't want high energy prices. We don't want food shortages. We don't want any kind of shortages. We don't want skyrocketing energy and food prices. What we will know, I don't think we will have that. So that's it for the vernal equinox energy. Happy New Year. Happy solar New Year. Make the best of it. And thank you for listening. Bye bye.